So, thank you so much for coming tonight, and I'm very happy that we're able to hold the U.S. premiere for Uzumasa Limelight tonight at Japan Society for Japan Cuts in the New York Asian Film Festival. To begin, I'd like to ask a question for the entire group of filmmakers we have here today. Based on the content of the film, it's a very Japanese production, delving into the long, rich history. Delving into the long, rich history of Japanese chambara at Uzumasa Studios. But it may not be immediately apparent to the average viewer that it's actually a very international production. And I was wondering if the director, Ken Ochiai, might be able to elaborate on the international nature of the film we've just seen. Because I understand that you actually studied in the US for a long period of time, and that's where you got your start in filmmaking.
Yes, I was born and raised in Tokyo, and then I left Japan after graduation of high school and went to film school in LA. But this film was written by a writer who lives in Kyoto, Japanese writer, and produced by LA-based Japanese producer, and directed by myself. And also, Kyoto is like a very traditional place. It's actually where the Japanese film started back in 1910. So there's like the longest history of Japanese filmmaking. So the crew members and are kind of like specialized in like samurai movies, have like a very strict tradition. And the cinematographer is American cinematographer Chris Falick, who I went to AFI with. So Chris and I and Ko went to Kyoto and talked to crew members in Kyoto, where it's completely different way of filmmaking. And we did the post-production in LA at Warner Brothers, and although it was edited by a Japanese editor. So it's kind of like combine everything together, and East meets West type of co-production.
Understand.
Yes.
So. And in addition, I think the film is also an interesting meeting of generations, of course, in the cast. We just talked about the filmmaking component. But of course, we have the debut of lead actress Chihiro Yamamoto, who I understand is a Wushu Junior World Champion. So that explains some of the fantastic martial arts performances that you're able to see in the film tonight, and a wonderful, starring turn by lead actor Seizo Fukumoto. So I was wondering if the crew, as well as Ms. Yamamoto, could expand upon this casting choice, and a really interesting choice of a debut of a young actress and an actor who's mostly played extras in films, making a leading debut.
What was difficult was there are quite a few things that the Satsuki role needed to do. One, she needed to speak Kyoto dialect. Two, of course, she needs to be really, really familiar with the action, especially like what is called tate, tachimari. And she needs to seem to be pretty fresh. So if you pick somebody that is well known for this role, then in your mind it's already that you know her, So that may not be able to work. So that may not work. So that was quite a challenge. So we are so glad that we found her at the very end. But yeah,
definitely. I mean, there's no doubt about casting Seizo Fukumoto, because the story is based on his life, and there's a little parallel line between the actual movie and also real life. That in the movie, Kamiyama is finding Satsuki and teaching her his skill to the next generation. And because Seizo Fukumoto is such a humble person, when we asked to be in a lead role, he's like, no, I'm just like a supporting role. Like I've never, be a lead in the movie. And it was like one of the most difficult thing to do was actually convincing him to be in the lead role. And he said okay, only because he wanted to pass on his skill to the next generation and inspire, I guess, next generation to like samurai movies. So when we find Chihiro, who's pretty, can act, fresh, and can do all sorts of moves, we're really happy. And also there's Kamiyama and Satsuki and Seizo Fukumoto and Chihiro Yamamoto actually passing on his skill to the next generation. So we worked out in both ways.
Chihiro-san, I wonder if you might be able to expand on the process of acting with Fukumoto-san for this role and working with such a seasoned actor for your first debut.
福本さんとお会いする前に私インターネットで福本先生の写真を調べていたんですけど、全部こう怖い顔をして睨んでいる写真ばっかりであって、本当にどんな怖い人なんだろうっていうふうに最初は撮影所の方に行ったんですけど、もうお会いしたらもう本当に真逆の優しい方で、多分私が毎日撮影を楽しくできたのは福本さんがあのように謙虚なお方だから、本当に何も自分にプレッシャーもなく楽しい撮影ができたんだと思ってます。
So before I met Mr. Fukumoto, I went on the internet and I looked for a photo of him. And every photo that I could find, he had a very scary, stern expression. So I expected a very stern person. But when I met him, he was not like that at all. He was such a gentle soul. And I think the reason why I was able to enjoy my shoot every day with such joy is because he was such a humble and an amazing person.
And in addition, I wonder if you could elaborate on the transition to screen acting from martial arts as a pursuit that you're taking on in this film, and if there are any lessons learned, perhaps, from the Kyorareyaku extras at Uzumasa Studios.
そうですね、もともとアクション女優さんっていう夢ができたのは武術を15年間続けてきていて、武術っていうのはマイナーなスポーツで誰からも見てもらえないっていう思いがずっと小学生ぐらいの時からあって、で高校2年生や1年生の時に初めてじゃなくて2回目の世界チャンピオンになったんですけど、その時に周りの環境がすごく変わって、自分のしているスポーツっていうのがたくさんの人に認めてもらえる、かっこいいって言ってもらえるっていうことがすごく自分の自信につながって、で自分の大好きな武術っていうのをどうやったらいろんな人に分かってもらえるだろうって思って、大きな夢ができたんですけど、それがアクション女優さんというもので、初めてその映画というものを撮らせていただいて、自分のしているスポーツと似ているようで似てなかったんですけど、楽しい盾というものを教えていただいて、本当に初めての映画出演でこのような経験をさせてもらって本当に感謝しています。
So as I think I have my concrete dream as an action star now, but that's all thanks to my 15 years of engaging in martial arts. And when I started martial arts, I had a feeling that it was known as a rather minor sport, and it was hard being accepted by other people. And when I was in elementary school, I had that feeling that people were not as accepting of the sport. But when I was in high school, I became for the second time in my life, I became a championship of the Wushu Championship. And at the time, I really registered a change in the atmosphere around me. And I was very glad to see a lot of people around me say the sport is cool and being very engaged with it. So I really wanted to expand and find a way to let more people know about what I do with martial arts. And I think that tied in nicely with the identity of being an action star. So in that sense, it was a very fitting role for me. And through sports fighting, it was a lot of fun, and it was very inspiring to be engaged in that too.
Now, as the title suggests and the initial title cards lay out, the film is an homage to Chaplin's, I believe, 1952 Limelight, in which an aging stage clown played by Chaplin mentors a young dancer, and the audience learns something about showmanship and performance and definitely laughter. So I'm wondering if the filmmaking crew, Ko-san and Ken-san and Chihiro-san, could elaborate on the homage to Chaplin's Limelight, as well as what the importance of Chambara film and television is to culture, if it's something that could be akin to the importance of laughter in Chaplin's Limelight.
Go at it.
No, actually, when I started this project, the two of the biggest things that I was really fascinated by was, of course, Seizo Fukumoto. Fukumoto-san is gonna be, or the perfect script for Seizo Fukumoto to be a lead actor. And then another thing was, of course, Charlie Chaplin's Limelight. Which also I really love, and it was blended really well in a script, that is written by Hiroyuki Ono. He's actually a chairman of a Chaplin Association in Japan, so he knows very well, about that. So. I was so fascinated by the project. That's how I started, and I guess after this, Ken can tell you guys.
Well, I took choreography class that Seizo Fukumoto did about a year and a half ago, and I talked to him in person about is there anyone who you admire or who you respect? And he said Charlie Chaplin, and I was amazed, how can Kirari Yaku and Chaplin's comedy can connect? And he said when Chaplin falls down, he doesn't protect himself, and that's why it's so funny. It looks hurtful, and that's something that the Kirari Yaku all need to know. If you're getting killed, it has to be hurt. There's some choreographers, or because actors have to do it again and again, sometimes they protect themselves too much. And he really respects Chaplin in that way. And I thought that was a very interesting connection.
Great. So now that you've taken on the Chambara film and linked that to the gracefulness of Charlie Chaplin's comedy, I just want to ask a general question to the entire group. What's next for you? What new projects are getting you excited?
Chihiro-san. Yes.
次回作ですか、いいんですかね。
はい、どうぞ。
今回盾を経験させてもらって、次の映画の撮影はもう終了したんですけど、初めて新選組というはい、新選組の役をさせていただいて、まだちょっと詳しく発表はできないんですけど、ちょっと教えてもらった盾とかなぎなたを取り入れた映画に参加させていただきました。
So, of course, in this film, I learned the precious art of sword fighting. And for my next production, I just wrapped production on a Shinsengumi, another samurai film. And I'm portraying one of the members again. So I cannot disclose the whole information, but that is my next project.
My next project is called Ninja the Monster. I know you guys are gonna laugh, but well, the story is about ninja and the monster. Well, I got fascinated with samurai movies as well, and this was not really about samurai movies. It's about samurai movies. It's not samurai movies in a way. And now I'm making ninja and samurai movies, and it's kind of like a dream come true. And some of the same filmmakers are working together, like editors and post-production people. So I'm very excited. So I hope you can watch this film again next year here.
I hope so too.
Yes.
Yeah, my next project is it's already done. Actually, that's going to be shown here again on the 19th. It's called "The Man from Reno." I also produced that one, and thank you so much. Yeah, that actually proudly we won the top prize at the Los Angeles Film Festival, so we're very proud of it. And then I'd love you to possibly come see the film. Thank you. Yeah. That's true.
Yes.
Okay, great. So thank you so much. At this point, I'd like to open up questions to the audience. Just any questions you have about the film that our filmmakers and cast can answer. We have a mic traveling through the crowd, and I believe we already have a question right here.
Thank you very much. I have a question for the director, and it's
Yes.
about the scene in the rural farm town.
Scene what?
The scene in the rural farm town, where I guess.
Yeah. When he got retired.
Yeah. So there's a shot in there where the two main characters are fighting in the sunset. How long did it take for you to get that shot? I mean, how long were you filming for that, and what was the idea upon filming that particular scene?
Well, we wanted that scene to be somewhat not only dramatic but also in a way like a fantasy, because he's looking at his like a childhood, little bit of a mixed of his dream and also a kind of flashback type of thing. So we wanted to end the scene on like with the sunset. As you know, sunset only has like 15-20 minutes window. So what's amazing is that we had that choreography. Like we practiced the choreography like maybe like 30 minutes before shooting, and then we just shot it. But she hasn't done any other movies before, and this is her movie. But she nailed it, on the like last sunset moment, and I was very impressed. So maybe 15-20 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, so next question. I believe we have a mic coming to our next question right now.
Thank you for coming. Thank you so much for coming. What does it mean for us as viewers that it took an LA-based director, an LA-based producer, and an American cinematographer to bring a movie about this genre to production? Does it mean that we're more nostalgic as foreigners about this genre than Japanese people are?
I don't think so. I think it's just happened that way. I don't think, Japanese people are not nostalgic. As a matter of fact, that people when we went to Kyoto, like everyone came to work almost like a voluntary for Seizo Fukumoto, because he has been supporting everyone. Literally like everyone in like samurai movie industry for 55 years, and they always just wanted to work with him because he's the lead. And I think that kind of spirit even like went abroad to like reached us. So it just happened that way. It's not the other way around.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. So my question was about the conflict, like the central theme of the movie. I was curious how real it was. As members of the film industry in Japan, do you witness how like apparent is the transition between old samurai dramas to like is this an actual real conflict that inspired you when making this film, like the transition from the old dramas to the new, more pop star oriented?
Yes, sadly, it's true. Back in the golden age of Japanese cinema, 1940s and 50s, there were about 400 samurai movies, just samurai movies. 400 of them were made every year, and that's like 2 or 3, almost like a week. And every studios were making it, and Kyoto was the center of that samurai filmmaking, and that's why the studio had about 100 to 150 movie extras as kind of like studio system where the studio actually hire actors in the studio. But everyone kind of like got retired these days. Guess how many films are made in theaters about samurai? About 2 or 3. So, and also recently, just like 3-4 years ago, one of the longest TV drama about samurai got canceled. So that was the longest one. It's called Mitokomon, and because of that, you can't really watch samurai movies in a daily life. So people, especially older generation, love samurai movies, and they can't watch it. Also, younger generation don't grow up with that kind of TV drama, so like they don't know what samurai is. When I was casting Satsuki's role, I met a lot of young actors, and they don't know what jidaigeki is. They don't know what samurai and ninja and like those things because they don't watch it. So I really hope this movie becomes the catalyst to spark their interest, to really dig into spirit of Japanese culture.
Well, based on news of the opening weekend in Japan, it sounds like there's a lot of interest from general audiences for the film.
Yes,
so.
Fortunately, we had a full house, so in a limited theaters, but we're hoping to expand.
Okay, maybe one more question from the audience. Do we have right here?
You mentioned that he was teaching a choreography class.
Mm-hmm.
How retired was he, and how much training did he have to do in order to prepare for the role? And during the role, did he actually get injured at any point?
He's a very unusual case. He's last hired actor in a studio. So he's like normal businessman. When you get 65, you get retired. But because he was so good and because he was so famous, he started doing freelancing. And from 65 to right now, he's like 71. He's been acting as freelance actor. But because he's so famous, like every director he has worked with wanted to put him back. Although I have to say there are some directors don't want him to be in the movie just because he's so recognizable that every time we see him on screen, we know that he's gonna die. So there's a little bit of risk of using him. But it's incredible that he trains even now. That he do little jogging for like maybe 3 to 5 miles every day, and he has a strict eating process. And he doesn't really do how to be killed anymore. That's sad, but he used to do it a lot till he got retired. Although she's not fluent in English, she practiced this last speech for 2 weeks. So if you have time, please.
Oh, certainly, certainly.
Once again, thank you all for coming tonight. I'd like to thank Mr. Ko Mori and Director Ken Ochiai from the bottom of my heart. Also, I want to say a big thank you to all the great cast, crew, and stand-up people. I really admire Mr. Fukumoto, and he is a pleasure to work with. Finally, I couldn't have done this without the support of my family. Thank you so much.
Wow. Big round of applause. Thank you. She wants to work in the States too, so she's gonna practice English. And one favor that I would like to ask, this film is not a big action movie that, like Transformers. So I would like to ask for your help to promote this movie with your friends, Twitter, SNS, and Facebook. Any kind of help would be great. And I hope that we can share this film with the rest of the world. Thank you.